What's up, guys? Meower here. So, today, me and Shadow got you guys a very special guide. Welcome, everyone, to our comprehensive infantry guide for Call of Dragons. Whether if you're a seasoned veteran or a new recruit, this guide will help you master the art of infantry warfare. Infantry are the backbone of every single army composition. They provide the essential ground force, they provide the front line, the push power, and the ability to capture and hold key positions out on the field. Without infantry, you cannot control the flow of fights, you cannot hold your ground, and most importantly, you cannot win any wars.
Understanding infantry playstyles is crucial. Here are the 3 different infantry playstyles. Number 1. The full counter build. Utilizing goresh, Skogul, or any infantry march with a hosk variation for maximum counterattack damage. Usually, the goal of this march is to deal as much counterattack damage to the enemy while you are tanking for your team. Number 2. The sustain build. This involves heroes like Garwood, Eliana, Madeline providing healing, shields, and damage reduction. The goal of this march is to intercept any enemy infantry and prevent the opposing infantry from pushing you out of an objective. Number 3. The utility build. This normally involves artifacts like Ice Ring, Blink to control the situation in the battlefield. These are very situational, but can easily determine whether an enemy gets to refresh by you blinking to prevent them from going back home, or determines whether or not they're able to push by you blocking off a choke with your Ice Ring. Now that we understand the different playstyles of infantry, we need to understand which infantry marches to use. So looking at this diagram, we can see.
Hold on, Shadow, do you hear that?
Hear what?
We interrupt this guide to bring you the solution to all your problems. Introducing Goresh Skogul. Offense, Goresh Skogul it. Defense, Goresh Skogul it. Push, Goresh Skogul it. No money, Goresh Skogul it. Wife cheating, Goresh Skogul it. Your parents just died, Goresh Skogul it. Just remember, kids, Goresh Skogul it. Max them now.
Anyways, what this ad tells us is if you have goresh Skogul, use it. However, when it comes to different situations, we have illustrated a diagram which represents which infantry march you should use. First one, obviously,
Goresh Skogul it.
a strong counterattack infantry march that applies a lot of pressure through its counterattack damage. Second, we also have any Madeline variation. So these includes Madeline with Garwood, Nika, Thea, and often other marchers that are used to intercept the enemy march. We also have Blink Infantry. So these are infantry marches that uses the Blink artifact to blink towards chokes or enemies who are overextended and trying to retreat. Fourth, we also have a Ice Ring march. So this is when you bring 50% capacity of your total legions that you can field with an Ice Ring artifact. And this is usually done by T4 troops or T5 troops. So when you're low due to the long fights and you still need to block the enemy through a choke point, you can then send a 50% March Ice Ring to hold off key areas in the map. And finally, we have the unconventional build, the Mobility Skogul Race Car build. So this Skogul build uses a special talent tree focused primarily on mobility. You take as much march speed as you can, and when you're rushing the enemy, you're almost as fast as calves.
When it comes to pairing infantry, pairing the right heroes is always essential for success in big fights in Call of Dragons. Here are the top pairings that we have ready for you. In the S tier, we have, of course, none other than Goresh Skogul it, followed by Madeline Thea. In the A tier, we have Madeline Garwood, Goresh Hosk, and Goresh Nika. In the B tier, we have Madeline Nika, Madeline Eliana, and Skogul Nika, and finally in the C tier, we have Garwood Eliana.
Now keep in mind these hero pairings and the infantry playstyles we talked about earlier. Over here, we've allocated the different playstyles according to each hero pairing. Now that we've talked about the infantry playstyle, the different kinds of infantry and which ones are the best, let's go talk about how to play infantry as a team. Number 1. Don't send infantry all at once, and we do this by spacing out our sends. Big alliances with 50 infantry on the field can send maybe 5 to 6 infantries at a time, coordinated by the war leader giving the calls. By spacing out our infantry sends, we ensure all our infantry units don't die to AoE, and we have enough for later when the enemy does try to push back. Number 2, conserve your infantry. And I mean this by, if you can bait the enemy without using any infantry at a choke point, let's say we are pushing a bridge. We start sending our infantry, but instead what happens is the enemy starts charging at the bridge towards us. What we can then do is kite back, form a banana, use our range marches to target the enemy infantry, and wait for all their enemy infantry to die out while our infantry is just sitting at the back waiting until we can finally push. Once we drain the enemy infantry, we can then push without being intercepted. This may seem obvious to you, but I've seen many top alliances who fail to recognize this opening and fail to perform this job. And number 3, always have a spare infantry to guard the flanks. In big fights, everyone is balled up together, and as a result, there are flankers like cavalry, archers hiding in cities if you're on their territory, or other goresh Skoguls just trying to deal AoE damage towards the big clump trying to get the most merits will come running at you. Now, to prevent this, we make sure if we are pushing left, for example, there's at least one infantry at the back guarding the right side, and same goes for any direction we are pushing or playing towards. Next up, how do we utilize infantry rallies?
Get ready, guys. Infantry rally launching. Rally break in 3, 2, 1. Break rally, break rally, break, break, break.
If you have been playing this game for a while now, you may have noticed that infantry is not just used in the open field. More importantly, used in rallies. There are 3 different kinds of rallies. Objective rallies, targeting a pass, bastion, or city. Counter rallies, which are targeting enemy rallies. And third, open field rallies, through forts. This is done through targeting a fort, launching a rally with the objective to bring groups of troops from point A to point B. For objective and counter rallying, ever since the release of
Goresh, Skogul it!
Goresh Skogul has been the king of objective and counter rallying. However, over time, as we play the game, there grew 2 new different ways and march combinations that outperform Goresh Skogul in objective and counter rallying. These are Goresh with Nika Awakened and Goresh with Hosk Awakened. These combinations perform better than a regular Goresh Skogul because, number 1, Skogul has a open field skill, while commanders like Hosk have a specific rally skill. There's also a bit of nuance into the different skills, the wording, and how it all triggers, how it applies, how it works. But just note that in this case, Hosk is better. And number 2, Nika is inherently strong with her high damage factor from her Rage skill and Awaken skill, which constantly applies skill damage to single target enemies if they are below 50%. TLDR, you've got 3 choices: Goresh Skogul, but over time, Goresh Hosk and Goresh Nika outperform Goresh Skogul. For open field fort rallies, I won't be going into depth on what marches to use, rather how to use them. The most common tactic being used in open field fort rallies is to, number 1, launch a Goresh Skogul fort rally near the objective. So could be near the tower or near a choke point. Number 2, march closely to the objective. So with the rally, it'll keep moving, let it go near the objective. And number 3, break the rally near the enemy and control your infantry marches. Now, there are several issues with this on the 3rd step particularly. When you break your infantry rally, these infantry troops tend to just go back home and people fail to control their infantry marches even if you tell them in VC on Discord. Now, a better practice would be, instead of breaking the rally, where the rally leader breaks the rally, Instead, have the people in the rally call out their names and ask half of them to choose to manually leave the rally themselves. By them doing this, and by having 50% of the people leave the rally instead of everyone leaving the rally, we can, number one, have 2 pushes, having the first group that left the rally, and later on when we break the rally, have that second group push. This will maximize our effectiveness by reducing the chance for our infantry being AoE'd by mages. Next up, infantry talents.
When it comes to talents in infantry, I tend to go a different route. I usually go all in on the infantry tree, and I will break down why. So starting off, the way I start about it is that I go for overall attack, I go for march speed, I go for HP, followed by shield of stability. And then afterwards I take for the infantry defense, I start with egoism, adrenaline rush if I'm running goresh Skogul, and heaven's blessing if I'm running madeline garwood, and then I go for cool-headed. Afterwards, I go for all-conquering, last word, and finally flank protection. And the reason why I go for flank protection is because when you get surrounded, you take when you get surrounded by 5 legions, you take up to 15% more damage from all sources. Versus when you have flank protection, you only take 25% of that, which is around 3.75% or 3% in general. So you cut it off by so much, making your tankiness and effectiveness in the field that much higher. And finally, I finish it up with Ready for Battle instead of Iron Will. And the reason why I go for Ready for Battle is because it doesn't have a cooldown, and on infantry you tend to get attacked by a lot of marches, giving you a higher chance of doing the counterattack. Plus, when you're running goresh Skogul, you already exceed the 100% counterattack threshold, so you're getting that much more value. Afterwards, when I start double dipping into infantry, the reason why I go for that is because the values of the talents here are higher than it is in the tank tree. So, for example, if I'm going for encouraging dance here, I would have to spend 15 points in the tank tree just to get the same thing, which is kind of useless and at the same time it's kind of a waste. Plus, I like rectification a lot. The extra healing will help out in the long run. It can help you last like a couple of seconds longer, which is ultimately the goal of infantry. You want to be a solid wall up front, you want to last as long as possible. Afterwards, I go for the extra infantry speed. And the reason why I take the infantry speed here versus, going again into tank tree is because I'm getting more value from my 5 points. The infantry tree speed gives me 15% versus 10% in the overall speed in the tank tree. Plus, the 2 big skills of the tank tree, Unyielding Spirit and Impregnable Defense, are not that good. Unyielding Spirit, an argument can be made for it, which is, it's pretty good, but having to waste 15 points on subpar talents just to reach a decent one is not worth it, and you're already reducing 4% of your hero skill damage taken by egoism in the infantry tree, rendering the tank tree completely useless. And finally, the 2 last points, I tend to put them in intimidation, but to each their own. Maybe you can put it somewhere else, but me personally, the reason why I put it into intimidation is because when I'm running goresh Skogul, they have hero skill damage in their kit, and this increases the hero skill damage that they do. When it comes to talent trees for commanders such as Madeline that have a tankier stats, I tend to go a more tankier route for the infantry tree. So I always go the same core. I go for the normal attack, march speed, HP, followed by defense, egoism, but instead I go for heaven's blessing because most of the time when I pair my Madeline, I tend to go garwood with her. And then I go for cool head, I go for all conquering, followed by last word, and then finalize with flank protection and the extra counterattack for ready for battle. And then I tend to double dip again. I go for encouraging dance, I take rectification, and finally finish off with the last 2 points on the extra shielding from solid shield. So there is another build for Skogul, but it tends to be a bit more cheesy. It is known as the race car Skogul build. I don't personally use it, but I've seen it out on the field a lot. It emphasizes a lot of march speed, and you just go zooming with it. So the build goes, you go for overall attack, you go for overall speed, followed by HP, balanced heart, and then you go through all 3 trees. You start with the infantry tree, of course. You go for the extra defense, you go for infantry speed, adrenaline rush, and then cool-headed. And then you go into the mobility tree. You take for overall speed, you take for predator, you take overall speed again, and you finalize with swift maneuvers. And finally, you go for the PvP tree, you get the extra attack, you get the overall speed, you go for head held high for the extra regeneration, and finalize with luck of the draw. And finally, the War Pets. Never forget about War Pets, they can make a huge difference out on the field. So for infantry, we have 3 main options when it comes to War Pets. We have the Venomous Lizard, which is great when you are being swarmed by multiple enemies. BruinBear, when you want to brute force the front line and want to get rid of other infantry as fast as possible so you can make your way to the back line. And finally, FrostBear, which is a bit more niche, it is mainly suited for Madeline. So for the pet skills, we're going to be starting off with the BruinBear. The BruinBear core skills are as follows. It is Quickening, which is a strength skill, Advanced Quickening, which is agility, Counter Strike, which is endurance, Advanced Counter Strike, which is agility again, and finally Intense Quickening. So these 5 will be the main core build which we build our core pet around. The last 3 skills will be Angry Roar, Blood Roar, and Fatal Bite, rounding it out to a full 8 skill pet. Next up on our list, we have the Venomous Lizard. So the Venomous Lizard's core is kind of different, but at the same time, you'll find a lot of similarities of it with the BruinBear. So we got ourselves the Infection, we got ourselves the Intense Infection. Advanced Infection is a bit meh in my eyes. I don't feel like it's that much of a core, as when you're being swarmed by multiple people, that extra percentage chance will not make a difference versus just augmenting and making your skills do as much damage as possible. So we're gonna skip Advanced Infection, and instead we're gonna go for Counter Strike, we're gonna go for Advanced Counter Strike, and then we're gonna pick up Tooth and Claw, Angry Roar, Blood Roar, and Fatal Bite to round out our build. Finally, the FrostBear. So FrostBear is probably the most niche pet out of all 3 in this list, as it is mainly and primarily used with Madeline and a march that has a shield in general, because otherwise you will not be able to utilize it. So the FrostBear has the similar of somewhat different builds. It goes Frost Armor, Intense Frost Armor, Advanced Frost Armor, Counter Strike, Advanced Counter Strike, and then we go for Heart War in order to get more procs on shields, and then finally you can just add whatever you want, if it's Terra Barrier, Great Care, or Dauntless to round out our builds. Stripe Bear is also there, but Stripe Bear is just way too niche and way too weak right now to justify ever using it, so we're just gonna skip Stripe Bear completely. Finally, the artifacts. So infantry artifacts are pretty diverse in my opinion, and there are a lot of options. However, in terms of the best, I'm gonna have to give it, of course, to Spiritborn Toric, followed by the newly added addition of Deathless Vines. And the reason why I'm putting Deathless Vines over Greymar's Hammer and Dragon Scale Armor is because it's a ranged variation of Greymar's Hammer, in which you can launch its active onto oncoming marches instead of having to be in the middle of the rest of them. And then, of course, we're gonna go for Greymar's Hammer, Dragon Scale Armor, and finally the Fang of Ashkari and the Storm Arrows, which is also a really good infantry artifact, as the blink helps you maneuver out on the field and control choke points better. And that does it for our super comprehensive infantry guide. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We put in a lot of effort to it to make it as clean and crispy as possible. Don't forget to goresh, Skogul it. Don't forget to drop the like. Don't forget to subscribe. Join the Discord. The link is in the description. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you in the next video.
Meow meow.
Meow meow.
If you enjoyed this video, click here to watch the next video. Oh, meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow.